Well, welcome to Valley Hoops Insider Podcast, part of the Valley Hoops Insider website. I'm Harry Schroeder, host of the show and editor of the site, and glad to be with you this afternoon as we take a deeper look into the Ohio Valley Conference and their brand new member, the Western Illinois Leathernecks. Super excited about their addition to the Ohio Valley Conference. We bring in their athletic director, Paul Bubb. And Paul, first, I just want to say thank you. I'm trying to hit the right button. I want to say thank you for joining us today. You've been there just a very short time at Western in this current role. I mean, I know you have a history there before, but talk a little bit to us about the journey. How did Western end up joining the Ohio Valley Conference?
Well, I think when the OVC started going through some changes about 3 years ago, starting with the departure of Jacksonville State and Eastern Kentucky, they started looking at expansion and where they might go. And Western's always been in that footprint, I think. And the conversations were held back then. I was not part of the athletic department. I was here at the university. I know that I had some conversations with some people that were in the Ohio Valley, and especially I've got some very good friends at Murray State. And I really believe Murray State wanted to stay in the league. But there were some other things happening that just kind of made it impossible for them to do that. But anyway, I'd had some good conversations there. Western at the time, the administration that was in place decided that wasn't the move that was right for them. When I became the athletic director, the journey starts with my feeling that we really needed to lay out a strategic plan for our athletic program. And I knew part of that would take looking at conference affiliation, but that wasn't the reason for it. It really was a basis of putting together a solid plan where are we going to go as an athletic program for the next 5, 10, 20 years. And we did that. We started our strategic planning process a little bit later than I had hoped for. We got it kicked off in November. And by February, late January, February, we were starting to take a look at conference affiliation and were we in the best league we could be in. And that wasn't generated from inside our planning committee, but we were getting that question from a number of the groups that we were meeting with. And we met with community groups, we met with students, we met with faculty, administrators, just a whole conglomerate of people. And, that was one of the questions they had for us. Is this the best fit? Now, the faculty are always looking to cut cost, I think, with athletics, or they like to think that, they like to talk that. And so being Division I or Division II was also a question that came up. And that was quickly put to a close by our president, who said, we are going to be a Division I program. We're staying Division I. So then you start looking at what conference affiliations are there and what possibilities are there. And the Ohio Valley Conference, just from a standpoint of the schools that are in there, and in terms of similar to Western Illinois, the size of enrollments, the athletic budgets that they have compared to what we have, a lot of things just started making sense. And so out of our strategic planning group came the recommendation that we explore the possibility of membership in the OVC. It was interesting because I'd already had some conversations with the commissioner, because one of the other things we're doing, we're going to be adding beach volleyball as a new sport. And the OVC sponsored beach volleyball. So we had kind of reached out to talk about possible affiliate membership. And then when the conversation turned to what about full membership, we moved forward, and that's where we're at today.
You have been there a handful of years on the development side, and then you've been at a number of different universities. You mentioned Murray, you were there, you were at Southern. I think you did some work at Drake. I mean, you've been at a lot of the schools that the people from our website read about and know about. But you grew up not very far from Western Illinois, got your master's degree there. You've kind of felt like a Western Illinois guy for a long time, haven't you?
I have, and I shared this story with people during the interview process for the job. I can tell you that, and people probably look at me and say, what were you thinking? But I've told people that this is a dream job for me. I mean, I grew up in the area. I went to Brody Weston's football camp. I used to work Jack Margathaler's basketball camps in the summer and everything. So Western has really been a home. I got 2 daughters that graduated from Western, my sister, brother-in-law, just so many connections. But I had actually been in another AD's job, and in the interview process for that other job, they asked me the question. They said, if you were offered this job and you come here and work for us, is there anything that you would, what would take you away from us? And I said, to be honest, I said, if Western Illinois University's AD job ever opened up, I have a sincere interest in being there. And I'm a mid-major guy. I've never been had the desire to be at a Power Five. I want to be someplace where I can make an impact and make a difference. And I really felt that my calling was at this level and to work at programs like this. So, yeah, it's back home. I grew up 20 miles from here. Played at Western Hall in the holiday basketball tournament, and like I said, went to football camp here and other things. So, yeah, it was coming home.
When you got out of college and you played some basketball, and then you were an assistant basketball coach for a while. So, in our basketball-centric website, we're excited when an athletic director is a basketball guy. That's very exciting to us.
Well, and I am, and I got a reputation, I think, early in my career as a football guy because I was involved with FCS football, serving on regional as well as the national committee. But no, basketball was always my love, and my high school basketball coach, I have to give him a lot of credit, and he's here in this area. I get to spend time with him, which is great. But Trevor Tolan played for University of Iowa, very much an influence on my life in basketball, and then Terry Glasgow at Monmouth College, and those guys really had a lot of influence on me in terms of what I was going to do career-wise. Basketball, though, I was coaching basketball, and I took a hard look at it, and I was an assistant at a Division III program, and I thought if I want to get to Division I, probably means working as a grad assistant for a couple of years, then maybe getting on as a volunteer assistant someplace, and then maybe a part-time. And at the time, I had a family and needed to support then. That didn't seem like the route to go, so made the transition to administration.
Got the master's degree there at Western, the undergraduate at Monmouth, and you've been around Maine and California and different places, but able to come back home. That's got to be exciting. I mean, you mentioned it already, but got to be exciting to really get back home.
It is, and the program's in a position where I think I can have a major impact and influence on it and get it back to some of the glory that we've enjoyed in the past. I feel really good about our basketball program right now in terms of both men and women, but especially with our men's program. Rob Jeter, who was here as an assistant or as our head coach, I get a phone call on Good Friday as I'm driving to Murray, Kentucky, and Rob telling me that he was going to take a job. And, the first thing that came to my mind was I hated to lose Rob. Good coach. He'd done a nice job. Certainly had a really good run this year towards the end of the season. But then my other thought was, what's going to happen with the staff that's there, and are those some people that we really need to take a look at? Chad Boudreau, our head coach now, had been an assistant with Rob up at Milwaukee before. He really was a gentleman that was very influential in the team that we've had the past 2 years, and now going into the third year with him as a head coach. So I felt very good about that. But, yeah, basketball, I want to see us get to the NCAA tournament. I want to put us in a position that we have that opportunity to do that. Western Illinois University's men's program never has been. And I guess in terms of a goal that I've got is I want to get us there.
Western Illinois, the Leathernecks, to be honest, my best recollection of Western Illinois is it's Macomb, Illinois, where the football Cardinals and the Rams used to practice there. That's what I know about Macomb.
They did, and we've got some very nice fields out here to the north of me. That thank goodness for the Rams for doing that. And when they were here, I was in Southern California at the time in different jobs, but I knew they were here. They made some nice improvements to some of our facilities that we still enjoy. I wish that the Rams were still in St. Louis, and I wish they were still up here, but that time has moved on from us.
You mentioned Chad Boudreau. I wanted to ask you about him and just tell us some of the qualities that he has as a head coach for your basketball team.
Well, one of the interesting things is I'm a local guy, growing up 20 miles from here. Chad, he's a guy that spent a lot of time in southeastern Iowa. Sorry about that. And then also northeast Missouri. And so it's kind of nice to have someone that's got those local ties. It was interesting. People that I know in the basketball world, and I've got quite a few friends that have been coaches. And when I pick up the phone, I call them and I say to them, "Hey, I'm thinking about. Here's 3 guys I'm thinking about. What can you tell me about them?" And of course, Chad was one of them, and every one of them had good things to say. So when there's fellow coaches that have good things to say about you, that gives me a lot of confidence in what his abilities are going to be. And asking them, well, how do you know him? What was your relationship with him and stuff? And when he was coaching junior college, they recruited kids that were at his program and stuff, and just their dealings with him was all very positive. So I've got a quality individual, in terms of that. When you talk to the players that we had after Rob had visited with me on that Friday, first thing I did Monday morning when I got back was to meet with the team, and the players really came on strongly that they hoped that Coach Boudreaux would get consideration for the job. I had already named him the interim coach, and wasn't sure how long that was going to be, but I wanted someone in charge of the program in the short time. And I think that their comments were very good and positive. I think one of the other things is we've had a young man come back that had played here in his junior year, then transferred out and played another school to finish up. But he wanted to come back and work for Chad in a graduate assistant role. Now that says a lot to me when you've got a player that leaves here but wants to come back. And those things were just all positives to me and a good reason why. And Chad fits in with the area. People in the community here really like him and enjoy him. And I think it's just a real positive situation for us.
According to KenPom.com, the Summit League that you left was, I think, the 24th ranked league. The OVC was the 29th ranked league. Is it for you guys to make that move? I think geography is probably a big deal for you guys. You mentioned similarities in terms of size, budgets, et cetera. Were those the major considerations?
I think the budget the teams we were competing against, the resources they have, and what the budgets they were using. We were busing 9 hours into the Dakotas for games, and they're flying in here on charter flights. They're coming in rested up, and we're exhausted getting off a bus ride. So that was important to me from a competitive standpoint. Forget about the dollars and cents, but just when you're putting your student athletes in a situation where can they actually be successful or not? And I feel like we've taken that step in doing that.
In terms of building rivalries, I can't imagine the Dakotas being like somebody there in Macomb going, man, can't wait to get after those Dakota teams. But now you bring Eastern in, and you talk about some of the other schools closer by, Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, and schools that are somewhat closer. I think it's got to be also an opportunity to build on some existing rivalries.
Absolutely. I mean, we played in football alone. We opened up at UT Martin last year. We've played Tennessee Tech within the past 5 years, and again, got some games going on with them. SIU, Edwardsville, and SEMO have been regular teams that our basketball programs have gone up against over the years and things. And then the rivalry, getting Eastern Illinois back into that, that's definitely positive. I think probably not so much leaving the Summit, but probably the Missouri Valley Football Conference, which I was around back when that got started in 1985 at SIU as the Gateway Conference. Mm-hmm. And the old Gateway Conference that had Southern Illinois, Illinois State, Northern Iowa, Eastern Illinois, Western Illinois. One of the things I'm making sure with our football program is we're going to continue to play Illinois State and Southern Illinois in football in non-conference games. And then we're going to play teams that we have played traditionally non-conference are now back into the conference mix. So I think it's good. Again, geographically, these are teams we've played over the years, had a lot of good rivalries with, and now it can be conference rivals that will develop. Right now we've got 5 schools that were within 5 hours of us. In the Summit League, I had 1 school that was within 5 hours. So things are changing.
I think that rivalry with Eastern is crucial. I did look back at the schedule when you guys first announced and noticed you played a lot of OVC and MVC teams in your various sports. So it's got to be better from that standpoint. Talk a little bit about your women's program, and your coach has been with you for quite a while.
JD Gravina's been here. I can't tell you exactly how many years, but I know 2017 we got to the NCAA tournament with him and everything. We want to get back to that and do that. Again, I think JD's had a good handle on it. Came here from Quincy University, so he had been coaching in the area. He was familiar with it, very much part of our community and everything, and done a nice job with our program. Anybody that watches us knows he loves to shoot the threes, and so our women's basketball is pretty exciting in terms of that. But I think that, again, the teams that we've played in the past, he'll have a good chance to step up against those, and I think we'll be competitive with them, no question.
What do you think it takes for either of those coaches, men or women's side? What's it going to take for them to compete at the highest level in the OVC?
I think consistency, and that's always a challenge right now with the portal and what goes on there. It's interesting. I've never shied away from junior college coaches stepping into 4-year positions, and probably now most junior college coaches are better equipped to take on a 4-year job because you're turning your team over every 2 years. You know, if you're lucky, you got the guys for 2 years. So I think that developing some pipelines for consistency, for being able to replace players that leave. I think developing a good reputation as a solid program, that if kids want to go on and play beyond, or even just finish off their careers, that they're going to be in a positive experience, be in a basketball environment. We've got to get our home fans reignited about basketball here. I can remember the days when there was 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 people at games here. I remember watching Tony Bennett come in here and play, and his dad, Dick Bennett, is a head coach up at Wisconsin school back in the old Mid-Continent days. So I know that type of atmosphere is possible here. We just need to bring that back. We saw a little bit of that last year. We had a 5-game stretch where we were winning, and 4 of them were here at home. And we had a kid by the name of Trent Masner that goes off and scores 46 points on one night, sets a new school record, comes back 3 nights later and hits a 3-pointer with 0.9 seconds to go. And then we have the biggest crowd that we've had in years here on Saturday to watch us play South Dakota. And I'm sitting there because we're down 22 in the first half. And I'm thinking, great crowd. The team just, what's going on? Well, the crowd got into the game in the second half. We come back from 22 down. We tie it. We go to overtime. We win by 9.
Beautiful.
That's the type of atmosphere I want here at Western Hall every single game. And I know that we're capable of playing that way. And it's just getting it out there, getting the message out there that, hey, we're here. We're ready to compete.
See, I love an athletic director that's giving me the play-by-play of what took place in a basketball game. I love that. What do you appreciate, respect, like, enjoy about the Ohio Valley Conference and Commissioner DeBusch?
You know, I've known Beth because of my days at Murray State, so I was familiar with her and her leadership. You know, the Ohio Valley Conference, I just think it fits us. You know, you look at the towns where most of those schools are at: Charleston, Cape Girardeau, Edwardsville, a little bit different because of its proximity to St. Louis. But Martin, Tennessee, in fact, I was just down at Martin the other day looking at their beach volleyball setup and everything. And when you come into those towns, Moorhead, Kentucky, Cookeville even, you know, those towns are like Macomb, Illinois. So the fan base that they're drawing from is similar to what we're doing. And I think the size of the universities, they're all pretty much under 10,000. Those are the schools that I want to be associated with, that we can really use as our peer institutions and measure ourselves against. And I think that's a fair measure of how good we are. My goal is to be at the top of that, you know, consistently year in, year out. And I really believe that we have the opportunity to do that. And again, I just think the size of the schools, the type of the schools are public, state, regional institutions, enrollments under 10,000, athletic budgets are all pretty much similar. You know, they're facing the same challenges we are. And I just like being matched up against those odds versus some of the other things that we've had to deal with.
And then the end of the season basketball tournament for men and women in the same place at Evansville. That has to be appealing as well, both for the coaches, the programs, but the fans.
You know, I think so. And that was one of the things. The Summit League also did their tournament at one location. And I have to say, of all the things I'm probably going to miss leaving the Summit, they do an outstanding job with their tournament. And it's because the fans from South Dakota State fight for the tickets. And, you know, we've got to develop that with the OVC. Again, when I was with the OVC, Murray State always traveled well for the tournament, be it in Nashville or Evansville, wherever it's at, they've always done well. And we just need to, every one of us as athletic directors in those schools need to work with our fan base to get them to respond like that to the OVC tournament. And the Ford Center is a beautiful facility to have that in. I think we're fortunate. But I'm really looking forward to that. And again, helping my colleagues build that up to where it can be and what we'd like to see it. So.
The basketball season, I don't know if Coach Boudreau and the program have released their schedule yet. Do you know opening night where the Leathernecks will be?
Yeah, I do.
Here it is, breaking news.
Now, we're going to open up on the road at Texas San Antonio.
Texas San Antonio. I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
Super excited about you guys joining the OVC. I think it's a perfect fit as well. And I love when rivalries start to emerge. And I think those things will be happening quite well in the OVC for you and a number of the other programs, obviously Eastern, but some of the other ones. When you look, final question, when you look at joining the OVC, what do you think the biggest challenge will be for Western Illinois?
That's a good question. I think that I'm not sure what the biggest challenge is going to be. You've got me stumped on that one. I think just fitting in and becoming familiar with them as a regular opponent versus a sometimes opponent, and what it's going to take in this league to win. Some different things in basketball specifically. Basketball, it was a mirror type of schedule. So if our men were at home, our women were on the road at the opposite at that other school. In this league, we play double headers. Mm-hmm. So I think getting used to that format will take a little bit. Our teams are very supportive of each other, though, so I feel good about that. How we travel, I think, is going to be an important thing. But I think that the fact that we can adjust to our opponents, become familiar with them, I think those are just some of the basic things we just have to get used to, and what is the best travel opportunities for us, and how do we make our kids feel the best about when we go on the road. So.
Well, being based here in St. Louis, no doubt I'll get to bump into your teams at least at Edwardsville or Lindenwood. Look forward to that. Paul, Bud, we really appreciate your opportunity, the chance to get to know you and get a little bit know a little bit more about the Leatherneck program.
Well, I appreciate that. And Ray Rock Hansen was really the founder, gentleman that brought the name Leathernecks to us, ex-Marine. We were the fighting teachers. And I'm glad that we're now the Fighting Leathernecks.
The best logo in the league. You guys have the best logo in the league, no doubt.
Well, and it's unique. And I meet with every one of our teams at the start of the season, and I enjoy telling them a little bit of the history and the fact that we are unique in being the Leathernecks.
Appreciate your time. I wish you all the best this year, and I know we'll bump into each other throughout the season.
Thanks again. I appreciate it.
That's the athletic director there at Western Illinois, Paul A. Bubb. We appreciate him and appreciate your time today. Remember, since you've been there, make it a better place. We'll see you again real soon.